Good morning. I'm here this morning to show you a little bit about our new tool, Fluency Tutor. I'm going to talk to you about what it is, give you a quick overview. I will show you both the teacher side and the student side, and then I will give you a quick rundown of how you can get your free Fluency Tutor premium account. We know that 60% of our fourth and eighth graders are scoring below proficient, and so we need to help them become better and avid readers, better fluent readers. So that's what this tool actually does for us. We can see this little quote here that a reader who has consumed 400 times more text by the age of 16 is what's considered an avid reader. So if we were to put an avid reader next to a student who struggles, think of the impact that that would have on those two different students. So we want to make sure all of our students are fluent readers. When we talk about fluency, we know that that means that students are reading quickly, accurately, and with expression. And we typically time that by words per minute, and this probably looks very familiar to you. In the past, we have taken a student or students out one by one out of the classroom. We get a timer. We time that student on how many words correct they're reading per minute, how many errors and whatnot, how many omissions, and we calculate those errors to get a fluency score. Fluency Tutor no longer has us doing that same task. You can see some of the benefits that Fluency Tutor gives us. I won't read each one of those to you, but it is a time-saving tool that is going to help us increase our students' reading fluency. So let me pop out. I'm going to get right into the show and tell portion. I'm also going to move this screen over there because I tend to close out. So what I'm first going to do is I'm going to open Fluency Tutor and I'm going to show you what this looks like from the teacher side. You can see when I opened the app, I come right directly to my dashboard. I don't have to click around. It takes me right where I need to be. The left-hand side, think of this as your bookmarks or your table of contents. The first little doodad here, the recent activity, tells me students' recent activity. So if a student recently has done some reading and sent it to me, I can see what the students have done. Recent shares are the shares that I have recently sent. So as the teacher, what have I recently sent? I know I've sent out Animals Keeping Safe. I want to go grab that again. I sent it last week. I want a student to do a rereading. I can go grab that. Students is exactly what it sounds like. It's the students in your course. You can see here I've joined my own class a few different times. Assessments. This is where you will score and see the students, how the student has done and completed on their reading fluency that they send back to you. So here I can see that this student used some tools, and I can hover over here after I take the time to score, and I can see a word count per minute, words correct percentage, a fluency score, and if there are comprehension questions, you can also see the comprehension score. Feedback over here on the left is not the feedback that we typically think of. We typically, when we say feedback, think of teacher to student. This feedback is actually feedback that you can give the company TextHelp who has developed Fluency Tutor. So if there is an idea or something that you want or wish were included in Fluency Tutor, you can give them that feedback. They meet once every 3 weeks and actually truly review that feedback. And we will often see new ideas that were from teacher input added into their tools. This next part is really the part that I want to show you. It's the time-saving piece of Fluency Tutor. Fluency Tutor allows me as a teacher to share passages with students. Students then can take those passages, and depending upon how you share and the settings that you share the passage with the student, they can use support tools, or you could choose to have the student complete a cold read with no support tools. So I'm going to show you how to share passages. You can do that in a few different ways. But the first thing I want to show you is when you're in Share Passage, if you come over to this drop down and go to Preferences. So I went to the drop down, Preferences. Now I have my text saved and measured by Lexile, but you can change that. You could change it to AR or Fontes and Pinnell, whatever you wanted. I just wanted to let you know that that's there. I'm going to leave mine on Lexile, and then you get to choose enable notifications or you can disable them. So right now I have no notifications being sent to me. If I click this, I will be notified when students complete reading. So that may be beneficial to you. It depends on what type of notifications you like to receive as a teacher. But if you want them on or off, this is where you get them in the preferences part of this. So I'm going to come back to share preferences. I know I'm sharing by Lexile. Now I want to go filter, and you can see the little filter over here. I'm going to filter my passages. I can filter by Lexile here. I can filter by reading age. I could say I want a passage for 7-year-old reading ability to, let's say, 10. I could type in a keyword, let's say sports. The student is involved or likes sports. We want to give a student passages that the student's going to be interested in reading. I can choose to only open with the keywords and this reading age of content that Fluency Tutor has created. And they do have 500 native passages within their own program. So you don't ever have to create any if you wouldn't want to. Content of which I've created or both. So I'm going to go ahead and click apply these filters. And now you can see here, I have passages through those reading ages that I selected along with the tag of sports. So let me just say, I'll click this picking teams. Every Fluency Tutor passage, and this is one of them, comes with comprehension questions. And I'm going to show you how you can include those or not include those, but they are there. So let's look at this passage. And let's say you take a moment here and you said, yep, this is exactly the passage I want to share with the student. You can come over here to settings or share options, and you can make some changes here. So if you have an ESL kiddo who is not a native English speaker, you might want to change some of this around. You can require the students to answer the comprehension questions. If you're using this as a cold read, you might not want support tools. I'm going to leave support tools enabled right now so that you can see what they look like on the student end. And for any time I share this passage, I can say always use these options if you so desire. So I'm going to confirm, and now I'm going to share with the student. So I'm going to come to Drive. Now I'm sure some of you saw that little classroom icon for Google Classroom. Since CPS is asking us to use Schoology, I'm showing you how that you can share it with Drive. It does take a quick second. Typically not this long. Here we go. Okay, so now I'm going to share with a student. This is a student whose mother has given me permission to use the account. Notify people means I'm going to notify this student. Could I share with more than one student at a time? Sure, I could share with another student. And I can notify, I can put a note here, please read, whatever you want to say, and it will show picking teams. So now I'm going to send that article or that passage to the student. I'm going to come here real fast and go into a new incognito window, and I'm going to grab that passage in the email. And you can see right here in this student's email that the teacher has sent a passage. I'm going to go ahead and open it. And right now it kind of opens, it looks like almost a PDF. There isn't anything I can do with this. So I'm going to click here and say, open it with Fluency Tutor for Google. On the left-hand side, when it opens, you'll see the passage. If an image was shared with that passage, the image will come over. The support tools and everything the student needs are on the right-hand side. So the first thing I want to do is show you how the passage can actually be read to the student. So I can click here.
Aaron hated baseball practice. When it was time to pick teams, he was always chosen last.
So the student can choose play and have the passage read first before they start to do anything. A couple other things the student can do. The student can change the voice here. So if a student isn't an English speaker, the student could change the voice of which the passage is going to be read. Now, the English isn't going to change. This is still going to be the passage, but it will have an accent, an Arabic accent. So now let's listen. So you can see how powerful that would be for a student who is perhaps not an English speaker by native country. So now I can come here and I see there are some support tools. As I mentioned first, I can disable those on the teacher end if I want to, but I wanted to leave them here so that you could see what they look like. I can listen to the word.
Teams.
I can have the definition read.
Now, a group of people who play a sport together in competition with other teams. He was picked for the cricket team.
I can go back to the reading. I can pick other words. I can use a picture dictionary, and it's going to show me what looks like board maker symbols, but they're actually called, they're from the widget dictionary. And let me just click one more. I can translate, and I had mine defaulted. If you remember on that first opening settings, I left mine to Spanish.
Noticias. Novedades.
It will give you all the dialects of the said language, so that's beneficial for the student. Go back to reading, and so you get the idea. Okay, so now let's say the student has used these support tools. They have had the passage read to them. Perhaps they even took some time to read along. They use the support tools if they so desired. The student can change the speed of which the passage is read back to them if they desire. And now comes the time where I, as a student, am going to record this passage for you, the teacher, to score my fluency. So I'm going to click record. It's going to ask me to allow my microphone, and I'm going to say yes. And it takes a second. And now my support tools here have changed. But I'm going to hit start recording. Aaron hated baseball practice. And so the student would continue to read and read and read and read until the student's finished. Stop recording. Now, as a student, I have some choice. I can listen to that recording and choose, is that the best? Do I want to re-record? Do I want to send it to my teacher? Aaron hated baseball practice. And so the student would continue to read and read. So let's say I, as a student, have self-evaluated. I think it's wonderful. I want to keep this reading, and I'm going to go ahead and send it back to my teacher. Oh, I can't do that because my teacher said I have to answer those comprehension questions. So no longer will a student be able to say, I forgot, or I didn't see them, or what have you. This is an automatic. So I'm just going to grab some answers. I'm not even looking, but I will say this, the questions,
What happens after it?
and as you can see here, as well as the answer responses, can be read aloud for the student. So now that has gone back to the teacher. Let me get back into my board. So now I'm back to the teacher dashboard. I can come to recent activity, and I'm going to see right away that this student has read and the other person I sent it to has read too. I can see a few things. So the first thing I see is this student used the dictionary on the word teams, used the translate, use the picture dictionary, and now I can take these tools that were used and I can click here and I can make a vocabulary document for the student. So I click there. It takes a hot minute. If you are familiar at all with Google Read and Write, which is this purple puzzle piece up here, it's the same. It will look exactly the same as that vocabulary document. You can see it tells the name of the student for which the document was made, tells you the name of the passage that was read, and then it brings over the words that were highlighted with the definition, you can see, and the symbol if there is one. All of these columns you can edit. So if you wanted to talk about getting the correct definition or the definition that was in context, student wanted to get rid of certain images or symbols, up here for notes, you could write directions as far as what you wanted the students to do, and the students would type their answers here, and so on. Perhaps if I could spell answers. So that's what that vocabulary document looks like. Just like in the typical Google Doc, because that's what this is, you would have to share this out with the student. So let's get back here. I can see that the student has read. I can see that the student read for 11 seconds. And then I can come here to score details. The very first thing I can do is listen, give it a quick listen, and give the student some informative feedback. So let's take a quick listen.
Aaron hated baseball practice, and so the student would continue to
So let's say I've listened to that whole passage that the student read. I have a couple choices. I can go right in and score. I can say to the student, oh gosh, this is the message that the student will get to. Nope, I need you to reread that. Or, hey, that was a great job. Thumbs up, but I still need to go in and score it. So I'm going to hit score passage. And now my teacher side looks pretty similar to the student side. On the left-hand side, I can see that the passage is here with the image. On the right-hand side, instead of those support tools for the student, you can see that these are support tools for the teacher. So up here is where I will play the passage back. And as I am playing, and I will say that this takes a couple times to learn, I'm going to hit play. As the student is reading, I will come and I will click on the word if there is an error. Now, I didn't make any errors when I was reading. I was just showing you how to do it. So I will also just kind of demonstrate what this looks like. So let's hit play.
Aaron hated.
Let's say Aaron mispronounced the word hated. I can just stop and click hated, and the reading will pick up as soon as I click on the error.
Baseball
Practice, let's say he skipped.
so the student would continue
And you will go through,
to read and read.
let me stop this here. You will go through and you will score that passage. One of the things I do suggest is that you listen for the very end of the very last word that the student read, because you can click on this, mark that word as the last word, and then it takes off for your data purposes the rest of the passage that wasn't complete. Or let's say the student did read the entire passage and it took the student 2 minutes and 14 seconds, but you only want to read, or you only want 1 minute. So you could drag the timer to 1 minute and hit the last word read at 1 minute so that your data will represent the fluency score of the student for 1 minute. So I'm just going to go ahead and pretend that I'm listening and make some other errors here just so you can see what that looks like. Over here, you can see that these numbers are tallying up as I am hitting the errors. They are also highlighted different colors because as you work with this program with the student will also get this passage back after it's scored and will be able to see which words he or she had errors on while reading. Okay, so I can see my errors. As I'm tabulating my errors, scroll down just a little bit, I can see what the comprehension score was, 204. I can see my words per minute, my word count per minute, self-correction rate, the percentage correct, and my error rate. For every 5 words or almost 6 words I read, I had 1 mistake. I can hit save scoring. Oh, and then it stops, just like it stops on the student side. For the comprehension questions, it stops on the teacher side because now you have to rate the fluency. I will say that this rubric will be the same for everyone. So if you are a teacher of a 2nd grade student, this rubric is going to read the same for expression and phrasing as it will for a 11th grade student. So just put some answers there. The student will see this fluency score. You can type notes here, and the student will also receive this message. So now I can say finish. And there you go. I can now hover this where it was that green book before. I can hover over and I can see the student word count per minute, words correct, fluency score, and the comprehension score just real quickly. But we know that our students are doing more than one passage. Perhaps you're having them do 2 or 3 a week. So you can come into your students and you can click on one of your students, and it doesn't matter which one, and you can see the student graph over time. You can change dates, and you can see that the fluency scores and information as far as the passages, word count per minute, and fluency score may change over time. I can come down here just a little bit further. I can hover over a story. That green bubble on the right again will give you the word count per minute. Now here on this, I have words correct fluency score. I didn't have a comprehension test on that one, or else the comprehension test answers would be there. But this is a whole lot of information. So I have 3 pages for this student. I don't want to have to go one by one by one to get the score. I can come down here to export to Google Sheets. And it does take a second, but what that's going to do is it's going to take all of the students' data, all of the stories that that student has read, and it's going to put it all into a Google sheet for us. So as the teacher, I will have all of that data in one spot. I'll take a quick look at what that looks like. So you can see on the different dates when the student has read. If it has a Lexile, it will give you the Lexile, the reading age, the amount of time. Was it a cold read? Was it not a cold read? Self-correction rate. It's going to give you all of that information. If tools were used, it's going to give you all of that. So now you have all of this information for your progress monitoring, for your IEP meetings, for your MTSS meet, whatever the meeting may be, you have it all in one place. All right, let's go back. So I want to show you just a couple other quick ways that you can make a fluency passage for your students. The first one I showed you was I opened up one of the Fluency Tutor native passages. I did go to filters and I typed in sports, if you remember that. So I'm going to we'll just go for everything. Here I can create my own content. So if I want to do that, I click create content. I can type my title, a short description. I would suggest typing a short description so that way if you go back and you want to filter for titles of passages that have to do with sports or have to do with nature or have to do with science fiction, you have that there. These tools will automatically be enabled for the content when you create. There isn't a way currently to disable those, although that might be some feedback that you want to give text help. Then you will put your passage here. Now, I've worked with a couple teachers who are actually having students put their own writing here, and then you share it the same way. So you would share here. And again, I told you that the Fluency or the Google Classroom icon is there. You can see mine is not enabled because we're being asked to use Google Drive and Schoology. There's one other way that you can make a passage. As you can see, it says install Chrome extension here. I have mine installed up here. But I want to come to, I have a website pulled up. Let's say you are working and doing a poet study on Langston Hughes. This is the perfect passage that you want to make a Fluency Tutor passage out of. Click here on Read with Fluency Tutor. Give it a second. As we know, it might take just a hot second, and that's okay. And now I have a passage that I can edit if I want to. So it defaults to the edit mode. It does, again, give me those translate dictionary support tools. But if I wanted to edit and get rid of some of that information, I could copy that out or cut it out. I can preview this if I want to, but then I scroll down to the very bottom and the same thing. I'm going to share this with my students. So you click on that Google Drive icon, let it grab it for a second, and then I'm going to share with the student. Again, notify the student, type a message if you want. I can go ahead and send that to the student. Now let's hop in and see. I come into recent activities. I have 2 new readings. I am that student again, but I can see that my teacher has scored picking teams. Now remember, that's the one that we just looked at first. I can click on that. I can see the messages where my teacher gave me feedback or information. I can also see my other scores and readings that I've done. But if I click on picking teams, you'll see, remember when I said that it showed the errors? You can see that those are highlighted there. I can see my overall score. If I wanted to re-listen, I could.
Aaron hated baseball practice.
That's what it looks like from the student side. Let me come back here to the teacher side one more time. And I just want to remind you of a couple things. So up here is where you're going to change your preferences if you choose. You don't have to, but you can. Then on share passage, here is where you will filter your passages if you so choose. If you wanted to, you could filter, I've filtered some before with students' names. You can apply these filters. And you can see something will come up because I know that, let's say Dewan likes baseball. I can always put a student name with a passage if I want, and then just search by that student name. Okay, the last thing I want to show you is that you will go to, let's scroll down here a little bit, to get your account, you're going to go to fluency.texthelp.com. Now, when I click on it, it's going to just take me right into my dashboard because I already have an account. But for you, if you do not have an account, you're going to go to fluency.texthelp.com. Say you're a teacher, go ahead and make sure you're signed into your CPS BOE account, and you should get all set up. It may default you to a 30-day free trial of their premium features, and that's okay also. What you'll want to do then is make sure that you have gone to our CAT-supported tools. You'll find this in the DSS CAT resources. Go to Fluency Tutor. If you scroll down to kind of about 2/3 of the way down, you can go to Request a Fluency Tutor account. Once you have, and I've already responded, but once you have filled this out, then I will get a notification that you need to have your code, and we will make sure that you get that free premium code. Once you receive your code, you will log back into Fluency Tutor, come here to this toggle down, activate license, and you will type your product code in right here. And that's it. If you have any questions about Fluency Tutor, by all means, please reach out to me, and I'm here to help you at any time. Thanks so much.